People think becoming a billionaire is about having power, connections, or a silver spoon. But sometimes, the world's youngest female billionaire starts in a place nobody expects. Sometimes she begins as a girl who was told she would never fit the mold. Sometimes she begins in silence, in discipline, in sweat, in a room with mirrors, a ballet studio, a place where pain hides behind elegance. That girl was Luana. Long before the world knew her name, before the headlines and the billions, she lived inside a story almost no one saw. She moved from Brazil to America carrying nothing but her discipline, her family's hopes, and a dream that didn't even have a clear language yet. She wasn't rich, she wasn't connected, she wasn't even sure what her future held. But she knew one thing: she didn't want a small life. One night, after a long practice, she sat alone in the empty studio. Her feet were bleeding inside her shoes. Her reflection looked tired, lost, conflicted. And she whispered to herself, almost ashamed of the thought, "I love this. But is this all I am meant for?" Her coach stepped inside quietly. He didn't smile. He didn't give advice. He just said, "You can love something deeply and still outgrow it." Then he walked out. Those words carved something sharp inside her, a new direction. That moment stayed with her. It followed her into college at MIT. It followed her when she sat in classes surrounded by people who always seemed ahead. Smarter, better prepared, more confident. She felt like she was dancing again. But this time on a stage she wasn't trained for. She would sit in her dorm at night and whisper the same question. Am I in the right place? One evening, she called her mother in tears. I don't belong here, her mother answered in a calm voice, the kind of calm that stops storms. Belonging is not something you find. It's something you build. That was the conversation that changed her life. Because the next day, Luana walked into a classroom where a professor was talking about prediction markets. The concept lit something inside her. What if there were a way to let people trade on future events? What if there were a financial system built on transparency and truth instead of rumors and noise? She didn't know it yet. But she had just stepped into the idea that would make her a billionaire. She teamed up with a friend, Tarek. They were young, underestimated, ignored in rooms full of older, louder, richer people. Investors brushed them off like dust on a suit. Some meetings ended with polite rejection. Some ended with subtle insults. One investor even said, "You look like students pitching a science fair project." Luana smiled, but inside she was breaking. Inside she heard the familiar whisper. You don't belong here. But she also remembered her mother's voice. Belonging is something you build. So they built. They spent nights debating algorithms, futures regulation, risk models, and human behavior. They argued, laughed, cried, doubted, and kept going. They wanted to create Kalshi, a platform where people could trade on real-world events with clarity and fairness. But there was a wall taller than anything she had seen. To build Kalshi legally, they needed approval from the US government, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, a room where no one looked like them, a room filled with experience, age, and power. The night before that meeting, Luana couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling and whispered to herself, "You've danced through pain. You've crossed oceans. You've walked into rooms you didn't understand. You can walk into this one too." The next morning she stepped into that government office with the posture of someone who had survived more than people assumed. She explained Kalshi with clarity, courage, and almost frightening calm. Every question they threw, she answered with truth. Every doubt, she reduced with data. By the end of that meeting, one commissioner leaned forward and said quietly, "This might change everything." And it did. They received approval. They launched Kalshi. And the world reacted like the internet discovering fire. People started trading on elections, weather, interest rates, and world events. Millions flowed in, then tens of millions, then hundreds. Kalshi grew until one day it crossed a valuation of $11 billion. And Luana, the girl who once bled on a dance floor, became the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. Today, she stands on stages she once thought were impossible. She leads teams that believe in her vision. She builds a future where information becomes power in the hands of everyday people. She did not become a billionaire by chasing money. She became one by chasing clarity, truth, and courage. And here is the lesson her life writes in bold letters. Your background doesn't decide your destiny. Your beginnings don't predict your ending. You can start in a dance studio and end in a boardroom. You can begin with doubt and end with power. You can come from silence and still shake the world. A wolf does not wait to be invited. A wolf does not ask if it belongs. It walks into the room and builds the belonging it needs.